Greetings. We are back for another in our series of videos here at the Moravian Archives. Paul is the director and archivist for the archives, and I am Steve Link. I work with Cornerstone Advisors here in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And over the last 6 months, we've been having conversations about how to help build a financial foundation for the archives, primarily through the form of planned gifts. You may be familiar with some of these terms: bequests, endowment, life insurance policies. Today, we're going to focus on gifts that give back to you as the donor, just to give you some various ideas to think about. But as always, we are not attorneys, accountants, financial advisors. These are ideas for you to take to your professional advisors to speak with them, because they will know the context of your total financial plan and know better what works best for you, for your heirs, and for the goals that you have.
Steve, thank you so much for being here with us and helping us with these questions. So how can people who still want or need income still make a gift to support the archives?
So there are various ways of doing this. Obviously, you can make an outright gift of a smaller amount, but there are vehicles that go by an alphabet soup list of names, like a CRT or a CGA. These are charitable vehicles that park assets and produce income for you, or distributions for you, for the totality of your life or a specific period of time. And at your passing, then the assets are available to the archives to use to either add to the endowment or spend outright, whatever your agreement is with the archives when you set it up. So without getting too far into the weeds, a CGA is a charitable gift annuity, and many charities offer these. There are also charitable remainder trusts, which is where the remainder goes to charity at the end of your lifetime or the end of the income generation. And you have the income during your lifetime, or you can designate it for someone else, a spouse or someone else. I'd like to maybe focus on charitable remainder trusts today. They generally have a minimum of about $100,000. You can work with a bank or a trust company to set this up, and simply name the archives as the ultimate beneficiary of it. Or if you have multiple charities, you can split the remainder up among several different charities. So I hope that's helpful.
That's very helpful. Can you name some of the vehicles?
Sure. So I started to mention the charitable remainder trust. They typically have a minimum payout of 5%, which in this environment, interest rate environment, is actually pretty appealing. You get a tax deduction based on a percentage of the total you put into the charitable remainder trust upfront. And then depending on what type, there are multiple types of charitable remainder trusts. You either get a fixed annuity, but I would actually recommend for most people that they go with a unit trust, which pays a fixed percentage. And as the market value of the assets in the trust fluctuate, you either receive more or a reduced amount. And the assets are revalued once a year to make that calculation. The reason I suggest the consideration of the unit trust over the annuity is in just the last 2 years, we have seen a wild fluctuation in interest rates, returns, and that kind of thing. And if you lock into an annuity, you can find yourself suddenly on the wrong side of that equation, where what looked like a good fixed income suddenly is smaller than you had intended because the inflation has eaten into that. So the unit trust allows you hopefully to keep pace with inflation, where the investments are growing within the trust and your income likewise is growing with that. Many people fund these, Paul, with with appreciated securities, just because they avoid the capital gain tax on it. And it is a great way, especially if one specific security you own has become a disproportionate part of your portfolio. It's a way to reduce that, not necessarily putting all of that stock into the trust, but a portion of it, to reduce your exposure, and then the trust can liquidate it without any tax implication to you as the individual who set it up of any significance.
That is a good point. What cautions would you offer our viewers?
Well, the one caution is on the annuity trust versus the unit trust. But there's other cautions. This is a gift. You are committing to this gift, and the IRS is very strict about this. You can't pull this money back. So this is gone out of your control. You retain the income to it. If you name a beneficiary other than a spouse, there are potentially gift tax implications. So it's important to think carefully about what you're doing. But there are reasons why people do these. So in my time at Lehigh University, I had a grandparent couple who did once a year, they would set up one of these life income arrangements for various children, and then they started doing it for grandchildren, and they called it an I love you gift. So this gift is going to provide a monthly or a quarterly income to one of their relatives in perpetuity for that relative's life. So long after those grandparents are gone, son, daughter, grandchild is receiving a quarterly check that they know is directly coming from their grandparent. And I thought that was a wonderful idea. There are other people who, they're first generation students, and so they find themselves helping a parent. It's become very expensive for medical care, nursing homes, that kind of thing. And I had another donor who set one of these up for his mother because he was giving her money after tax out of his income. But this way, she wasn't having to ask, and he wasn't having, to feel at all uncomfortable. It was set up, and he knew that would keep paying an income to her for his lifetime if he predeceased his mother somehow. So it was a great arrangement. It did have a gift tax implication with it, and you just have to bear that in mind. You typically don't pay a tax, but it does eat into your lifetime exemption.
That is a lot of information that you provided.
Hopefully not overwhelming.
Where do you think people should go if they have questions?
I would go back to my disclaimer in the beginning, which is it is really important to be candid with your professional advisors, to let them know the totality of your estate. Try to be thorough. It's easy to kind of lose track over multiple decades of other assets that are out there. But the more information you can give your professional advisors, the better the advice is that they can give you. If they don't know that you are at risk of tripping over the state estate tax in the particular jurisdiction you live in, that could all be adjusted and removed by doing some careful planning up front. And I know this in part personally, having worked with my dad. He was very dangerous to basically adding a seventh child to our family, which would have been the state in which he was living, because he was just a little over that threshold. And by actually dispersing funds during his lifetime, we were able to get him down below that level, which saved a huge amount of resources, both for charitable purposes and for my siblings and me. So it's worth talking with your professional advisors.
It definitely is. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join us for some of the other videos. Take care.